Hello and good morning. It's Annie again with Coeur, here to bring you another live session of mobile body yoga this morning. Thanks for joining me if you're here live. Just a quick disclaimer, if you are participating, just know that it is for recreation. It's not for any kind of medical diagnosis, evaluation, or treatment. And by participating today, you are acknowledging that you can get on and off the floor safely, whether you're just viewing or participating today. So a little bit about Coeur before we get started. We are a service that provides online, live, in real time movement instruction in the areas of Pilates, yoga, and functional movements. So that's different than just say, hey, you have a subscription to a library of videos. This is actually interactive. You can ask your instructors questions. You can engage with other people in class. We find that it's a really wonderful way to build community, which is one of the most important things I think about having a studio that you're consistently going to. So that's kind of a unique quality we have, is that it does provide the time to engage and ask questions and ask for modifications, all of that good stuff during the session. So this morning's session is just to give you a little teaser taste of what we do. So you don't need any equipment to participate if you'd like. I do have a mat and I do have a couple of things with me, but all you need is just you to just move. So we'll start today by lying on our backs to start with a breathing exercise. So find yourself lying on your mat here. You can keep the knees bent or straight. Just let the arms settle. And we'll use a breathing technique I like to call power breath. So that involves engaging several different muscle groups as part of the core, and still allowing you to breathe in and out through the rib cage. So to start, I'll have you learn about what the pelvic floor is today. So the pelvic floor is a triangle that sits kind of right in the saddle region. And so the pelvic floor is, because it's diamond shaped, it's made of technically kind of an upper triangle and a lower triangle. So the upper triangle would be the urogenital triangle, and the lower triangle would be the anal triangle. So you're learning all sorts about anatomy this morning. But so part of that triangle has several muscle groups. So that's kind of the basis of the lowest part of the core muscle. So that's also incorporated into the power breath. So you might begin by allowing both triangles, the whole pelvic floor, to rise up, and then allow your navel to pull down towards your spine. And then once you have that partial contraction in those areas, inhale and exhale through the rib cage. So we'll breathe in and out just like that for several rounds. If you'd like to relax all those muscles on each exhale or inhale, and then exhale, draw it all in. That's a way to just learn if you're first doing this, haven't attempted this before. That's a way to cue into those muscle groups. So inhaling, letting the pelvic floor relax, exhaling, drawing the pelvic floor and the low belly in. So 2 more rounds just like that. Inhaling to let the saddle region relax, and exhaling to draw it in. So throughout class, we'll use that breathing technique just to stabilize through the core to allow for more complex movement. Okay, so keeping that, I'll have you roll to your side, and then keep your roll going to land with the knees underneath the hips and the hands underneath the shoulders here. We'll just take the movement into the spine a bit, just rolling, allowing the belly to sag, and then curling and rounding in. So 3 more just like this, working just to bring a little bit of movement into all areas of the spine, even the ones that try not to move here. Deepening your breath, longer inhales and exhales. And finish one more here. Curling all the way. And finding a position kind of halfway in between both curves there. Inhale to sweep the left arm up. And exhale to thread it through the space that the opposite hand and arm makes. Full breath in. And out. And sweeping it back. We're going two more here on this side just to loosen up, work into the mid-back area here. As you're breathing, again, thinking about expanding through the rib cage. And one last threading through here. Full breath in and out. And returning the hands back down to your mat, changing sides. Inhale to sweep the arm up. Exhale, threading it through the space. And a full breath at this point here. And bringing it back up. Two more on the side. And last one. Returning the hands back down underneath the shoulders here. Sit the hips back over the heels and walk the hands forward. Forehead can come to the mat. 3 deep breaths here as well. Again, maybe focusing on where you can draw your attention back to the pelvic floor and how each inhale might allow you to relax or expand through that area, and each exhale drawing in. One last breath here. Walking it forward. Slide the right foot up to in between both hands here and walk yourself up to be kneeling on this back leg. If this is pressure is intense on the kneecap here, you can always fold over a mat, or if you have couch cushions or blankets nearby, that's always helpful too, just to give your knee a little padding. And then once you're here, kind of leaning in, maybe finding the hip bones here to see that you're not pushing the tail out or over tucking the tail underneath you. Finding a nice halfway point there. And inhale to sweep the left arm up towards the ceiling. So you're really reaching and grabbing, and then away from the side, you're stretching. And return. So maybe inhaling to get long and tall. Exhaling. Leaning away, drawing the navel in, the pelvic floor up with the exhale. Let's go one more off to the side here, returning. And exhale, reach. And then arms can come down towards the floor to frame the front foot. Tuck the back toes, lift the back knee, and come up to a position standing in a lunge here. And finding the position of the hips that feels right. Maybe lengthening or shortening your stride so that this area of the hip doesn't feel angry, but that certainly should feel like a deep stretch or pull through this area of the leg. Once you have your feet set, inhale to sweep the arms about shoulder height. Bend the right elbow. Draw it over the opposite elbow, and to any degree that feels okay, you might start to wrap the arms here. So I'll turn towards the mirror so you can or the camera so you can see that. So your arms are about shoulder height, bending from the right, crossing it over the left, and then grasping here. If you find yourself really rounding through the shoulders, you might not grasp or cross as far. So maybe just going here or here, but just allowing your shoulders lots of space through the front here. So we'll stay here for one more breath with wherever you have the arms crossed. Maybe sinking a little deeper into that front leg. And then unravel the arms here. Step your foot forward to meet the front. And then settle the arms down. Take a nice shoulder roll or neck roll here. Just let the head hang heavy. And inhale, just sweep the arms up, reach up tall, get nice and long. And then exhale, fold over the legs, me bending generously here first. As this is our first forward fold. Let the head hang heavy. And we'll be here for 3 full breaths. So if it feels nice to bend and straighten one leg at a time, just to find a deep pull through the hamstring, that's an option to you. Either way, still thinking about that power breathing strategy. Inhaling to let the pelvic floor relax, belly relax, and exhale to draw in through those muscles. And bend through your knees more if that helps you to plant the hands down by the feet. Step the right foot back this time and come into a high lunge position, this time with the opposite foot behind you. Finding the tuck of the pelvis that feels just right, maybe tail out or tail in. And then arms can come again to about shoulder height, this time bending from the left, crossing the left elbow over the right, and then wrapping here to any degree. This may feel different than the other side, so you might take a different expression here if that's arms not quite touching, just as long as you can keep shoulder blades behind you, the clavicles or the shoulder collarbone here nice and open. We're here for 2 more deep breaths. Breathing in that same way we have been all across. And last breath here, maybe sinking a little more towards the floor. And unraveling. And begin to lower yourself down onto the mat so that you're kneeling on top of the right knee this time. I'm going to pad my mat again here. And then finding again the tuck of the pelvis that feels good, so not overcorrected or undercorrected, just kind of halfway between there. And leaning in, reaching the right arm up towards the ceiling, and exhaling away. Inhale to center, nice and tall. Exhale, lean away. Here for 1 more full breath in and out. And once you finish that, plant the hands to frame the front foot or step the foot behind you. Let's go back onto the hands and knees again here. Find that position where the shoulders can stack over the wrists, the knees underneath the hips. And this time we're tucking the toes, lifting the knees and holding here. Just for 3 full breaths. So class does come with a little bit of work today. Definitely feel like fire in the belly area, in the arms, the thighs. Take 1 more full breath in. And exhale to lower. Maybe taking the pressure off the wrists here for a moment just to roll them out. If you do have props available to you, getting the arms on blocks this way is one way to take pressure off the wrist if that's sensitive here. And you could, of course, do that from your mat here as well. We'll try that 2 more times, holding for several breaths. So hands squared underneath the shoulders, toes tucked, knees lift and hover just an inch off your mat and hold. Maybe you're thinking about the power breath again now, or if you forgot about it, now is the time. Just let that be your reprieve or your distraction here from the hard work. More full breath in, and exhale to lower the knees. Roll out the wrists. We'll do 1 more just like that. Walking the hands out, Last one here, tuck the toes, lift the knees, and if you'd like to try additional challenge, you might shift the body weight forward and shift it back without changing the shape of your spine. So as if you could balance a plate of hot tea. I'm struggling here if you can't tell. Right on the low back here, nothing changes. Let's go one more shift forward and back if you're shifting with me. And lower the knees, roll out the wrists. Whew. Nice to get a little work in the morning. Okay, if your wrists are still feeling okay, walk the hands out just out in front of you, a little more than where we had it. Tuck the toes again here, lift the hips, and then shift the hips towards the ceiling. For your first down dog, maybe pedaling out the legs here. I tend to slip on my mat a little bit, so I'm going to change my position to be on my forearms, palms up. And just work the legs here in any way that makes sense. If that's just to bend and straighten the legs, maybe to wag the tail. If that feels good to take a leg up, or over, or through. Changing sides. Settle the legs down for just a still down dog here for 2 more full breaths. Let the head hang. And lower down onto the knees. Walk it back to sit on the heels. We're here for 3 full breaths in child's pose. And noting how the triangle of the pelvic floor might widen with each inhale and contract with each exhale. And last breath, finishing here. Walking yourself forward again here and drawing one leg up between your hands, again in that low lunge position. Tuck the back toes, lift the back knee, and rise on up to high lunge again here. We'll be setting up for another lunge position, or warrior 2 if you're familiar. So the back foot will turn so that it's making like an L shape in comparison to your front leg. So if the front leg's pointing to the front of your mat, your back leg's pointing towards the side of your mat. And then to find what your pelvis should do, or the hip girdle, or however you want to think about it, I use my hands as ways to figure out where that should go. So you can imagine if you had a holster at your waist here, and you had your little hand shooters, your holster would point kind of halfway in between where the front leg is going and halfway between where the back leg is going. So you can kind of play with that position there. Once you find like you got your holster set, you might deepen the bend through the front leg, really trying to rotate the back leg out while still keeping your holster pointing there. Once you've got the bottom half of you set, arms can float up to about shoulder height and gaze over your front fingertips here. We're here for 3 full breaths, tuning back into, again, the power breathing strategy, and that's just a way to engage more entirety of your core muscles by using the pelvic floor lift, the navel drawing in. Both legs nice and active here on your last breath. See if you can sink a little deeper, keeping your shape of your holster, tail tucked. And then press to the front leg to straighten it here. And then keeping the length here at the ribs, see if you can tilt, keeping your holster where you have it, tilt from the hips here. So that might be enough here, just as long as you're not rounding and curling and scrunching up in that area. So it's going to take quite a bit of with the legs kind of pushing strongly into the mat here, and then sliding here as far as you can that feels comfortable, accessible. This is triangle pose if you're familiar with this in yoga. If you'd like additional challenge here, you might take the top arm up towards the ceiling, and you might even gaze up towards the top arm to give yourself a little more balance challenge. Either way, we're here for 2 more full breaths in and out. And exhale, hand can come down towards the waist, taking the bend back in the knee here. And pivot your front foot so both feet are facing the same direction this time. And we'll be practicing a motion called a hip hinge, which is just a tipping that comes solely from the hip. So I'll turn so you can see here. What's tempting is to let the spine curl and round here. So I'd like for you to attempt or practice here, maybe using your camera or a mirror nearby as feedback. Just if you can tip forward and back, keeping the relationship of the crown to the tail the same, no curling or rounding here. Hip hinge and press forward. It should feel like work the backs of the legs, maybe the inner thighs here. Pressing firmly through the mat on the floor. Let's go one more. Hinging forward and pressing through. Good. So we're here. This time you'll take the opposite foot to turn away to come back to that warrior stance yet again. This time with the opposite leg in front. So again, adjusting your holster here so you can find the position of the pelvis and bending through the front leg, spiraling, turning out through the back leg. Holding the arms yet again up about shoulder height or so. Come back to the breath. And tuning into the pelvic floor and the navel, allowing those areas to kind of relax and sink with each inhale. And then exhale to draw up and in. One more full breath here, see if you're sinking a little deeper. And then pressing through the front leg to straighten here, hinging forward or sliding the arm down the leg in a way that feels comfortable and good here, and that you're keeping lots of length through the torso. Once you're here, finding any additional expression that feels right, if that's looking up towards the ceiling, down towards the floor. Just bracing here for 2 more full cycles of breath. And lastly, pressing up through the feet. Finding again that hip hinge with your feet parallel. Reaching forward and coming back up. Go 2 more hinging here. And your second hinge, just let yourself start to hang here, maybe using the hands on the floor, keeping a tiny bend in the knees. Let the head just sink. It's a different way to forward fold this morning. And just take any movements that feel good. If you want to make some circles, ring the bell of your head. One more full breath here. Slowly coming back up to a standing straddle here. Start to toe heel your way in so you're coming back to a standing at attention position. You can come back to the top of your mat here. Inhale to sweep the arms up, get nice and long and tall. Exhale, forward, fold over the legs, this time nice and narrow with the feet. We're here for a few breaths as well, so just take note of how this might feel a little different now that we've moved a bit more. Notice the pressure of the mat underneath your feet. Any vibration you might sense in the chest. Bending generously from the knees here, letting the hands come flat to the mat. Step one foot back, followed by the other, and we're holding here in a plank position. If it feels better on the wrists to be on the forearms, that is also an option here. Either way, just 3 full breaths. Lowering the knees to the mat here. Send your chest down towards the floor and landing here on your belly. Head can be turned or face down. Just take a moment just to enjoy this restful position. Tuning into any sensations you feel. Again, maybe it's pressure of your cheek on the mat. Maybe it's warmth or coolness you sense in the palms. Just take a moment to give some attention to whatever comes up. And slide your hands just underneath where the shoulders lie. You might turn the head to face down, and then pressing through the hands, allow the chest to come up and rise here. As you're here, see if you can allow your butt cheeks to stay nice and relaxed. And press down generously through the arms, tucking the elbows into your sides here. And then lower slow. Try that 2 more times here. So peeling yourself up just by looking forward in front of you first, allowing the chest to rise off the mat. The butt cheek muscles are nice and relaxed. You're pressing down through the feet. Holding for 1 more breath here. And then lowering. Last attempt here at this low cobra, or however you'd like to name this position here. It's allowing lots of work to come from the arms, allowing the cheeks to stay soft, and lowering down. Walk the arms so now the elbow is underneath each shoulder here, and pressing up through the arms. So now you're a little more upright, like as if you could read a book here in this position. And then as you're here, draw one heel in towards your bum and then slowly let it out here. Again, still coming back to that power breathing strategy. So you're still tuning into lifting of the pelvic floor, the drawing the navel in towards your spine. And butt cheeks are relaxed here. Just drawing in and out. So 1 more kick on each side here. And settle the legs down. Let the chest fall down towards the mat. 1 more full breath here on your belly. And pressing up through the hands again, coming up onto the knees here. So we'll walk the elbows back just a little bit here, finding your knee underneath the hips again. We'll come to a position where the hands can reach out in front of you and you can sink the chest down towards the floor. This is almost like almost a down dog. It's called puppy pose, kind of because it's a little more relaxing, a little less effort to get to that down dog position. So either way, if this is tough on the shoulder joints here, you might walk your hands a little wider or really keep the shoulders active, the hands pressing into the mat here. We're here for 3 full breaths. Just notice how the pelvic triangle might change shape with your inhales and exhales. Just draw your attention to that saddle region. Last breath here. And walking the hands underneath you. Yet again. Allow yourself to sit to the side for a moment here. And lower onto your side. And onto your backs. Take a few more restful stretching, mobilization type poses here. So allow one leg to slide out and away from you. And draw the other in towards your chest, using the hands to draw in the hip or the knee here. You might take some circles with the leg, drawing big O's on your ceiling. And just to listen to what the body tells you here. If pulling in feels uncomfortable in the groin area, maybe you relax or kind of stay in the more movement-friendly zones. A couple more circles. Change direction if you haven't already here. And then settle the leg down so you can hold in one still position and begin to straighten the leg here to any degree that feels okay. I'm just getting the back of the leg or hamstring to stretch here. If it feels best to keep the ankle moving, that's an option as well. And you'll notice the knee will try to cheat a little bit and doesn't by any means need to be all the way straight. But if you can actively get this muscle to work for you here and help with the stretch, you might find a new sensation there. If you're pumping the ankle, you might do circles here as well. So 3 more. Allowing the leg to come back down and exchange it for your other side here. Grasping behind the thigh. And then working the leg into circles or whatever feels best here on your hip joint. Coming back to the breath each time too is kind of the first thing to just forget about it, and that's why I try to bring your attention back to it. Change direction with your circles if you haven't already done so. And then letting the leg settle down and straightening through the back of the leg or the knee here. Again, maybe playing with any position of the foot that feels good, straightening through the leg or keeping this muscle active, whatever makes sense for where your body is right now. No need to fight or push through uncomfortable sensations here. It's just a way to allow your mind and your body to connect this morning. It's an opportunity to listen and notice how sides feel different, left to right, and take a couple more movements here with the ankle. Settle the leg down. Draw both feet in so they can rest flat on your mat here. And to walk the feet a little bit further apart, just so you have some room to allow the knees to swish side to side here. I'm a little close to my wall, so I'll shift a bit. Just enjoy this last little twist of your day, of your morning. Maybe taking note of how the pressure feels nice on the upper glutes or on the butt cheek muscles as you rock side to side. Let's take one more swish to the left and swish to the right. And meeting back in the middle here. I'll take one last final resting position. So if that feels nice to straighten the legs here or roll to your side, really any position that makes sense, that feels good. Just take these last few moments just to have a little introspection if you'd like to close your eyes. Start to pay attention to any sensations that pop up again here. That's the heart beating in the center of the chest. Maybe some vibration in the chest, the breath coming in and out. It's pressure of the heels resting on the floor, the back of the head on the floor. If there's any other sensations that come up, coldness, warmth, damp or dry, just take note of it. If you'd like to stay here, you can absolutely continue this restful position. If you'd like to roll up onto your mat, that's also an option. Either way, that is our 35-minute teaser session for Just You, Just Move. We're back here next weekend on Saturday at 9 a.m. Pacific time and 12 p.m. Eastern time. I hope to see you here again next week. If not, I'd love to teach you individually for a one-to-one session through c2cfitness.online if you'd like to find me there, or through small group sessions that I teach on that same platform. Hope to see you again soon.